Welcome to episode 1 of the Muse Room. And I thought, what better way to start off my first episode than to interview my mom, because you are the one who I came from, and you have been so creative and inspiring in all of the things that you've done. And so I wanted to start this whole process off with you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, really quickly, I just wanted to ask if you could please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. That would be amazing. It really helps out everything I'm trying to do with highlighting creative people and their life stories. So thank you.
But yeah, like I said, you've always been so creative, and you're always trying new things. Like, that's something I've gotten from you. I'm always like, I'm like a jack of all trades, master of none. But I'm working on that part. I'm working on that. Yep. And so are you. You've been working on, well, you've been writing for a long time, but I've noticed you, and you've been telling me about how you've been working on your books.
Yeah.
A lot more recently. So if you want to tell me about that, I would love to hear more.
Okay. So I've always loved writing.
Yeah.
And when I was an academic, I have a PhD in political science. And so my writing started out in that political way. You know, I got my dissertation and I published that. And then recently I went back through it and saw all the horrible things I did with it. But I started probably about 5 years ago, kind of exploring more seriously self-publishing. And I played with, I did a couple of books. I did a calendar planner thing, just to sort of, as a creative way to kind of start doing it. It's the easiest way to kind of get into that. And then I did a rewrite of an old Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. And that was sort of the next step in the writing. I kind of redid the writing. It was almost more my editor style coming in, and I made it more like a textbook where you had like key terms and a summary and ideas and at the end of the chapter for people to do. And so that was kind of the next step, but it was still very much that sort of academic kind of writing. And then I went and I wrote a book called Incognito. And that one was about Kate Warren, who was the first female detective for the Pinkerton Agency. And that was really my next step into more of the creative writing, into the novel. And then from there, I felt like something shifted in me. I have her there. She's there still, and there's more stories that go along with her. But there was a story that I had written 20 years ago called Ambassador. At that time it was called Ambassador.
I didn't realize it was that 20 years ago. You might have told me, but
yeah, no, I'm not sure if I told very many people about it. I did self-publish it, and I feel sorry for the handful of people that got it, because it was not so good when I went back to it. But it was like I had done that book, and that's where a lot of my heart is. That's this sort of like this messaging we've talked about before. You've mentioned that we feel like this creativity comes from someplace else.
Yes.
And I feel like somebody speaks to me, somebody whispers in my ear, you know, something like that. And this the main character is Inara, and I feel like she's with me, you know, in very real to me in that way. And the first time I wrote it 20 years ago, it was about me. It was about my faith, about what I was going through, about trying to push people to think about what I was thinking about. After I got now to where I am here, and I did those first other books to kind of, you know, get the creativity in that format going, I began to hear more of her story. And so I completely redid the book. It was in third person before. I made it first person. I cut the first 2.5 chapters out. I had to take a bunch of information that was in that and in that third person idea, and I had to bring it in dialogue with the other characters, because it was still important information, but she would never have known it since it was in first person.
Yeah.
So somehow I had to bring that back in, and then what I did is, when I had that, I started going through the editing process. And one thing I've looked on, I've just recently started back on Instagram and stuff after not being on it, and looking at a lot of the writers that are on there. And the hardest part about writing something is editing.
Yes.
It's like you're creative and you get all this out, and then all of a sudden, I got to edit this thing, and it's like your creativity just sort of goes out the window.
Right.
Because now you're having to structure and do all this stuff, and you wrote it the first time, so how do you know what to change? And not everybody has the opportunity to go out and get an editor or a proofreader or have somebody who's going to look at the whole thing and say, well, this is what's missing and what's missing. So I personally have found that I decided from my creative standpoint to keep myself in that creative place. I use AI.
Right.
I use AI to help me edit it, and I'll put something in there. It'll say, well, you know, you did this really well. This isn't so good. You made this really main point, and then you just took off and left it there.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything with it. And,
Yeah.
and then it gives me suggestions, and I don't agree with everything it says. And
Yeah.
AI has a certain way of writing, right? And so I go through and I changed it. It will help me change and to restructure, and then I go back and I rechange it, and I'll edit it again and again. But what it's done is it's made it more fun. It's like being able to take something and toss it to somebody else. They toss it back to me, and it's a game. It's
Yeah.
much more of a game.
And it's like an unbiased one too, because AI, you know, you've told me the struggles of your other books where you would send your copies of your books or things you've written to editors and they never get back to you, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, or nobody will publish it or whatever, or that struggle that you've told me about. And it's like, you know, I have a lot of, not trying to deviate from your story, we'll get back to that, but AI is definitely a huge, people have a lot of opinions about it in creative industries.
Yes.
And something I'm fortunate enough that, like with dog grooming, AI can't really touch that right now.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
AI can make pictures of, you know, grooms online with like colors and things like that. But as far as like an in-person, I did this, like I painted this on the dog, or I carved the coat in this way, AI can't do that yet. But I do notice a lot of other creative people within the dog grooming community and just in artistic communities in general, especially people who do paintings or drawings and stuff. AI does affect them in their ability to kind of, I don't know, have their art be appreciated, or selling their art when people can just go and use AI to create these things now. For me personally, that doesn't, like, I still buy original art. I love original art. It speaks to me in a way that AI art cannot. But so many people see AI as kind of like this evil thing for creative people.
So 2 points there. One was that it takes away from other people's ability to get their artwork seen, and then 2, the people using it for their creative efforts. And I think that there's an understanding in here that how many of the people who are using AI would actually have gone to the people who do the art in the first place.
That's the point. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. But yeah, for instance, I've made, you know, like flyers or simple logos. Like for my business logo, I did go to somebody for that because I wanted it very specifically, like a very specific way. And sometimes AI can't do those little tiny things that you need. And then on top of that, like, it's something that I wanted done that I could, you know, make the logo as large as I wanted or as small as I wanted. And there's like a special file that you need in order to do that, to print it on things or to put it on the side of a van. And like, I can't tell, at least in my experience, there's probably somewhere out there I could do it, but can't tell AI, hey, make it in this this format so that I can do this and this and this. I don't think it at least ChatGPT hadn't done that. But and for something simple too, like for instance, when I went to Groomcation, the dog grooming retreat that I went to, they had all of our faces in a scene painted on top of a cookie. Yeah. Like, you know, who's gonna go to an artist and pay hundreds of dollars just to have like a cute little thing that you can put on a cookie? Right. You know, at that point, it's like, oh, and then they also made a bunch of songs that were like Groomcation, and it just had like, it was just a cute little atmospheric thing, and it wasn't that serious, right? And for me, I've noticed I'm not going to go pay hundreds of dollars for something that simple. If my choice was to not have like a little simple logo or flyer, or to pay hundreds of dollars for it, I would just not have the logo, or I'd find like clip art or something and mash some stuff together and make that work. But well, there's a place for real like original artwork, and then there's this other little in between place that people who don't have that creative talent for that want to make. They want to make these things on their own, but they don't have the same skill as these amazing artists do.
Right.
And I saw somebody say like, well, if you're not good at painting something and you want to be able to paint something, just practice. It just takes time. And it's like, okay, well, I don't have the desire to practice day in and day out to become good at painting. Not everybody has that drive for that specific thing, but you still want something beautiful that's, again, not that serious, but that still looks nice. Right. So,
or the time.
Or the time. So,
yeah. and that is also the same with writing, in that you get a lot of people that say, well, if you want to be a better writer, just keep writing. And then what I see it is, there's fear going on. Fear, a lot of people who say that and who say, don't use AI and don't do this. And there's fear that their voice won't be heard if somebody else uses AI, or that their writing isn't going to be, ultimately, all fear goes back to the fear of not being loved. So a writer who says don't use AI ever is afraid that they want to be a gatekeeper to what is put out there as far as writing goes, because they're afraid that they're not going to be the ones that are loved. It's going to be somebody else who uses AI. Mm-hmm. I understand that fear. Everybody has that fear. But AI is just a tool. It's a tool to be used. And I'm not going to tell anybody how to use AI. If they want to just put a few words in and do whatever it is and write a whole book, that's fine. But I know that it's not going to be as good as me using the tool the way that I do, with revision after revision. For one instance, in one of the scenes in Ambassador, they are going into what I call lensing drive. And it's a really fast way of a spaceship being able to go across space. And I said, okay, what would this really look like? Yeah. And I put it into, and it gave me a whole huge thing, a world building idea. Now, I think what it gave me was like 14 pages of information. I used the ideas of it and put it in my own words of it. And it's less than a paragraph in my book. But it's the world building behind what I put in there, because also science fiction writers, it's a science fiction book, my Ambassador is, and science fiction writers are pretty smart. So you don't have to put a whole bunch of information out there. You trust the reader to know what it is you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But it's really this give and take. It's this promoting of these ideas, and then being able to say it shocks something in your own brain to say, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. So much of AI with me is going back to it and saying, nope, that's not right. Let's try this again. Yeah. You know, and it's again, it's a tool. And I think that like any new thing, whether it was radio or whether it was television or whether it was the internet or whether now it's AI, there's always this hesitancy towards change for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
In academia, when I was a professor, I was one of the first people to go online with academia, with school. And I actually got slammed at the university or at the college that I was trying to get tenure at, because I was also teaching at an online university at the time when I tried to get tenure. I was teaching there so that I could learn all about what it meant to be an online teacher, because I knew that was where we were going in the future. Yeah. And I ended up not getting tenure, which was actually the best thing for me. Yeah. But it was primarily because their perception of this other work, and I was always open about it, and I promoted it at school, and even after I left there, they still had me teaching the online courses there for them in political science.
Interesting.
Yeah. But for me, it's always been about, then it was about how do I bring video into the online courses? How do I bring audio feedback into, or a video feedback to the students? It's always been about innovation and what can I do? So when it came to writing, at first I tried it, and then I was like, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, nah, this is all just standard stuff. But now I went into it, and when I approached it now I find ChatGPT and Claude to be very different. I use Claude for my literary work, and this exchange, world building. I use ChatGPT for some world building, But I really like ChatGPT for its clarity on how to do my marketing,
Yes.
how to develop my videos or my images for my website, how to develop my website. It's really good on that aspect of creativity. And I love it because I can draw really amazing stick figures that have these little expressions on
Same.
them.
I do it all the time.
But that's the limit of my artistic ability. But when I go in and I have these exchanges I put in my ideas in there, and this is what I want to do, or like right now I'm working on a video where I did the whole audio part. I got the transcription done. I put the transcription into ChatGPT, and I said, now help me figure out how to make this a video. What images should I have for this? And so now we're going through that, and I'm using another video creation AI that takes an image of a picture and then makes it a video. And I'm doing
Those
that
can
bit by
get
bit.
kind of silly looking sometimes.
They can.
But not always.
Yeah.
Not always, but yeah.
Yeah, and so now I'm slowly but surely doing that as well. And I've seen other people make amazing videos for their books,
Yeah.
for their marketing on Instagram, and I'm like, go for it. I don't think it's ever going to take away from a real actor doing a real scene, and if they're afraid of that, I think that maybe they need to question where's the real fear in that. Where are they afraid they're not going to make money? Are they afraid that they're going to lose their job?
I think it goes to a place of still fear, but of feeling like everything you've worked so hard to be good at is no longer good anymore, because people spend their whole lives becoming an amazing artist. People spend their whole lives becoming an amazing dancer, actor, etc. And then you have this thing that instantly just comes and replaces you. And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. I get it. Like I if I have so many friends that are artists and creative people in that way where AI is affecting them. But at the same time, I don't know if it's affecting, I have to talk with them more, I think, to get a better perspective on that side. But another thing that people are worried about with AI is the energy consumption of it, the data centers, the things like that. And something I've been thinking about all day that I wanted to bring up with you and get your thoughts on are, whenever something innovative is coming out, or something that helps the human race, for instance, plastics, right? They created plastics. It has helped us be able to package things and ship things and medical devices, so many things, but contributes so much to pollution. At the same time, they create these things and then they expect the people they create it for to be the ones to deal with the outcome. That shouldn't be our problem. Like recycling, right? People get on you for not recycling, or even when you do recycle, more than half of it doesn't even go to actual recycle centers.
Right.
So they create AI and they didn't create a solution for the immense amount of resources that it costs. But then the community, it becomes a social issue at that point. Oh, if you use AI, you're contributing to this massive problem in the world. But it's not, you can't expect us to not use this amazing new tool, all of these new innovative things that really do help for the most part, and then blame people for using them. It's like, oh, I can't use that, but everybody around you is excelling and moving forward, and you're stuck in this place because you don't want to hurt the world, hurt the environment. What needs to happen is the people who are creating AI and innovating new ideas with AI, they need to be innovative in how they're going to not have it hurt the environment. They need to be the ones to do that, not us.
My understanding, well, prior to that, there's always laws, right? There's limitations on what.
But none of these people follow laws.
Right, well,
anyway.
a couple of things that you raised that were really important. One, my understanding is that, like, when we do our stuff, we go and we ask to do create a picture and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not the process that's using the majority of the energy. From my understanding, the majority of the understanding is in the development of the AI itself. Is in the process of its development, its training, its learning. That's where the energy consumption mostly lies in, from my understanding. Recently, these companies have been given the okay to develop their own on-site energy sources. So like mini nuclear reactors, they could create those. Like they had one at Washington State University. They had a little mini
really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was for science,
Yeah.
but there's always been one there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I imagine it's still there. It's not something you easily get rid of. But it's not something that's too problematic. The other thing is, and this goes back to one of the few conspiracy theories things that I hold on to, is that we already have the means by which to create very less expensive energy, but the government and some corporations have bought up those patents, and they're not being put into play. I imagine that we're going to see, because of the amount of energy use, we're going to see some of that happening. I've also seen some things like, I forget which one it is, they're looking at water, putting some of these places on floating things in the water. It keeps it cooler.
In like the ocean?
In the ocean, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Not using our fresh water?
No,
hopefully.
not.
Yeah.
And
Because they're trying to put them in states with, like on lakes, like the Great Salt Lake. They're trying to use that for a data center, and like that's heartbreaking.
So I'm not. I don't. I've seen some of these things where they're looking at these.
This is just stuff I've seen online. I don't know how
exactly. I
true.
think though, because we have AI developing, there is being the utilization of AI to find better ways to get the energy necessary for them. I think that will be the next step. The other part about other things like plastics and stuff like that, what we've been very poor at as a society is closing the cycle, where we have the production and all of that, and then we have the waste. Our waste should be being used in the process of developing things, should be used in the process of creating energy. We just haven't been very successful at continuing that loop, and I know it. Again, that's where we can be capable at. And I'm with AI. I'm sure we can find a means for taking, sort of like Back to the Future too, where he puts all the trash into the little compactor and it becomes energy. There's got to be a way to close that loop. That should have been from part of our, when we do development from the very beginning, is how do you take the waste and make it part of the energy. And so for that, but for creativity, AI's here.
It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And we have to decide, I don't think, maybe we'll have places where you have whole places where there's no AI at all. And then there is, I actually explore this in my book to a certain extent, where there are different societies that have different, they're fairly, if they're doing interstellar communication and space travel and stuff, they have the means to have AI and to have all this. So it's not something that's hugely talked about. It's little bits and pieces in the book, but I talk about some societies that obviously are very highly technological. They've got tall buildings. The buildings are both absorbing energy at the same time that they're producing energy.
It kind of reminds me of the show Altered Carbon. Like, I kind of imagine our future like that, but also from what you're saying in your book, kind of like the almost dystopian. I feel like that's what.
I mean, I think there's always going to be more than one. Like some societies, like they're dual systems, where some might have that very highly developed area, and then there's other pockets that aren't, or the whole society might be one, and the whole society might be the other. And so that's subtly explored in the novel, these ideas, because I'm just starting with the world building with Ambassador. This is just the beginning, and that also leads to my website, the Last Archive, and the Signal Archive.
The Signal Archive.
There we go, the Signal Archive. And that is where I'm doing this world building in real time, where I'm posting the things, where my ideas are being posted about it, where people can give me feedback on it, and it's really just this sort of, I'm trying to create a community idea around this world building idea. And ultimately it's going to be mine. I might get some great ideas from people, and then I might be like, I'm not too sure about that, but it's just, for me, it's the fun idea of the people that question everything, that question
Yes.
our systems, that question what's going on. And my book is really about that questioning, and it's why, as a political scientist, I do bring a lot of politics into it, again, subtly, and sometimes not so subtly. I also bring in psychology, especially political psychology, psyops and stuff.
I love your posts that you make on your Instagram. It relates to kind of what's going on with politics and in the world right now, but very like nuanced. It's very, is that the right word? It's
Yeah, and to be
Yeah.
honest with you, that's where AI has really helped me,
Yeah.
because I can be a very pointed writer.
Yeah.
I can be like rah rah rah, and right now I'm not on any side. I'm not even on the line of political left
Same.
and right. I'm up here watching everything going on and deciding I'm not going to put my foot in any camp.
Yep.
And AI has helped me keep that distance. You know, I can be really, I can be very upset about things, or I could be pointed, and so AI has helped me keep in that balance of keeping it in the question, keep it in the questioning of, is this right, or is it not even right or wrong, because I don't necessarily believe in dualities like that, but really in helping in just the idea of questioning, because I don't have the answers. As I say, all I have is questions. I don't have the answers, but we have to start with the questions.
And writing prompts in itself to try and figure out what you're looking for is kind of an art in itself. Like figuring out the right things to ask and how to, the right things. Because if you just say, hey, make me a picture, like with Adeline, my daughter, she yesterday was like, I wanted a picture of this this character that I wanted to make for Dungeons and Dragons. And I said, don't make it look like a human. And it came out and it just kept giving me pictures of a human. I was like, well, did you write about like what you wanted it to look like? Did you give it the details about what you actually wanted and not just what you didn't want? And so that kind of got her thinking a little bit more. And I said, you really have to like put as much detail as you can when you're trying to create these things. So
Yeah.
it's not just like, you don't come up with these amazing images and videos and writings with just a couple sentences.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's not just a one and done, like, oh, that was easy
No.
kind of thing. You still have, especially if you're trying to create something special, which what you're doing with your book, it's a process. It's a creative process, and still keeping your voice in it.
Yeah.
And you're not just letting AI write it for you.
No.
So I think that's really cool, and I think that's a great way to use AI for a creative endeavor. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt where
That's
you
okay.
were going with that.
No, I agree completely. And like with the post for Instagram, usually I write it all out. I write the whole thing out, and then I go and I put it in there. I say, okay, how can we make this better? And it says, well, this is the things you did good. Here you lost it a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's take this out. Let's tone this down.
Yeah.
You lost your balance here. And then I go, okay, ask me some questions that will make this better. And then AI asks me questions, and I put in all the answers. And then it's like, okay, this is how we can add these things in this way.
Yeah.
So again, it's this give and take. It's learning how to use AI, and AI is great when you get to a point like you say, oh, how can I make this better? Be sure to ask me any questions that you need in order for us to, add to this, to make it longer. Like sometimes I'll take Instagram post, which is fairly short, and I'll say, how can I develop this into a Substack post? And I say, ask me all the questions you need to help develop this further. And it'll ask me like 6, 7, 8 questions. And I'm sitting there writing for another half hour, 45 minutes, just answering those questions. And then it brings that in, and then it'll give me an idea. I'll work with that, and then I take it over to another AI, and it works with it a little bit, and then I bring it back to myself, and then it's this give and take process.
Yeah, that reminds me of when you were talking about going from one AI to the other AI. The other day I was making a reel on Instagram for a little cute montage I made of all of these dogs that were at the dog grooming retreat I went to. And it was like a 2-minute plus whatever long video. and I went to go just add a song that I liked, and it was the licensed music, and I give credit to the music that I use. Yep. So I went to go select a song, and it said, oh, you can only use 90 seconds max of a song. And I'm just like, that's really sad, because I want to give credit to the artists. And like I tried finagling it where like I spent like 20 minutes like trying to make this song work by like splitting it in half and then like trying to make it mesh up so it didn't sound weird. And it still was like, no, you can only use 90 seconds of any particular song. So that meant I would have had to use 2 different songs. And I was like, but that's not going to flow. It's not going to work. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to make an AI song. And so I went and I used ChatGPT, and I said, hey, create a song with the similar vibes of this artist and this song, but with the lyrics being about, vacation and friends and memories and things like that. And then write me a prompt that I can use for the app Suno, or I think it's Suno. It's an AI song creating app.
Right.
That will translate it to Suno that will make this work and make a good song.
Right.
And it did all of the things. It wrote out all the lyrics, and then I did a few things. I was like, well, less about a romantic relationship, more about, friends and da-da-da-da. And so a few different reiterations of that finally came up with really cool lyrics. I was like, okay, I like this. And then I put it into Suno, and the first song that came up was just perfect. It was amazing. It's exactly what I needed. And then on top of that, I don't have to worry about the restrictions that social media is trying to put on me for what I want to be creative with.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm just now really getting into the world of the different apps that AI has, or the different versions of AI that you can use. Because ChatGPT, you can't be like, hey, make me a song, and then it's not really the best at making images either. I've used it for, like making mood boards for an idea that I have to help me like visualize what I'm trying to create with certain things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I only see AI kind of going up from there. And I really wish that people would be more comfortable with using it as a creative tool, because I don't think it's going to take away from their creativity.
No. No, I don't either. If I were able to be successful in the things that I am creative with, I would have more of an opportunity to be able to buy the things that are by the people that are doing it themselves. That I'm not gonna take any of my things and print it out and put it up on a wall.
Yeah,
that's where I would get somebody else's stuff.
Same. That's by original. I love original art. There's something so special about it. And I really don't think AI can replicate that human emotion that is put into art. So it creates beautiful things, beautiful images, but that rawness is different. Yeah.
And as anybody will tell you who's a writer who uses AI or who does the videos or the songs, it takes a long time actually to get what you really want. Yeah. Usually, I mean, you can be super successful and then for me, like when I do all my stuff on my website, the Signal Archive, and my book cover, I use Krita, and then I take like 10 different images and I layer them all in different layers, and then I add the words and the text and everything on top of that, and it takes days for me to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's and for me it's been a huge. But I mean, I'm retired. Right. I'm early retired because of a variety of things, but I'm retired, and so I have the time to do this exploration. Plus, I think it's fun as long as it's not being like a chore. Yeah. When it gets frustrating, then I'm like, I step back, and then I usually go to ChatGPT, and I'm like, how do I do this better? What am I missing here?
Yeah.
Like, ChatGPT is like just starting it. How do I put a book cover together? It gave me an example of its idea. I said, okay, now. And then I just went through and I said, give me this kind of image. Okay, now I'm going into Krita. I'm going to put this all together. How do I do it? It gave me a step-by-step explanation on how I do it in Krita. And then it just took me 3 days to put it all together. And then I had to do the back cover. And so it takes time, but there's also an accomplishment feeling of when doing it. And this gets back to, I'm on Social Security. I don't have the money to get an editor. No, and flat out, no one wants to read your book for free. There might be some websites out there, like I think there are some that they have people that do readers and stuff. That's great. I'm glad to see that those kinds of things are happening. I'm at the place where I do this for the love of it, right? I do this because I want, one, it's a story in my head that I need to get out. It's a picture in my head that I need to get out. It's an idea that I need to get out, whether it's whatever part of it is. It's something in me that I need to get out. And that's the first thing. It's Inara speaking to me saying, we've got this huge storyline, right? I've got 9 books outlined. This is just the first one. This is a huge storyline.
Yeah.
Although my books tend to be only, under 60K words, because I'm the kind of person who, when I pick up a book, I have to read it until it's done.
Yes.
So it's a readable in a couple days book, right? But so I have all this that I want to do, but for me, it's that needing to get the story out, and then what is the experience of the person on the other end getting?
Yeah.
And if I'm so caught up in me and it has to be this way, and I'm not going to use AI, I'm never going to get it to that reader.
Yeah.
I'm never, like when I was starting to edit it and I was doing it by myself, 6 months went by and I wasn't finished editing it because part of it was that I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And once I put it in there and it said, and it gave me this perspective of what I was missing, what was good, what I was missing, where I could add more information, where I could take information out. It was like, oh, okay.
It clicks.
It does. And it made it fun.
Yeah.
And I still spent another 2 months editing it.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, you throw it into an AI like Claude and it pops out and it's wonderful. No. After I did that, I went
They call
through...
that AI slop these days. When somebody just creates something like, here, take this, and it just creates it. They're like, yeah, this is great. And then people put it online. It's called AI slop.
Well, that's, yeah. But so
There's a difference.
Yeah. And so it took me another 2 months, of another 4 or 5 edits of the whole book.
Yeah.
Before I got to a point where I liked it. And at the end, I just, you're just going through and making sure, like there's commas and periods and I'm not even sure I put my punctuation is right, but I felt like also I'd done the queries where you send it out to a literary agent or you try to send it out to a publishing company. Usually I just tried to send it to literary agents, and I've sent close to 100 queries out over the 2 books that I have, and it's just not their thing, I guess, and so. I decided, I've always hated gatekeepers.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not fond of gatekeepers, so I decided I'm just going to be an indie author. I'm just going to publish them all myself.
Good.
And that means I have the control over what it is. And the people who are going to be drawn to my book are going to be people who question systems, who feel like there's something else, who have gone through a lot of trauma in their life, because, my characters. She tries not to be emotional. She's an ambassador. She thinks very logically and very structured and like it's like this. But there are points where she just like she loses it, and that's the reality of who we are. We all lose it. And then but what does she do with that? Right? Once that happens. And so it's for people who feel big. It's to me it's the most important thing is this is sort of where we are, and then with Ambassador, it's the fall, it's the fall, and then from here on out, it's what if. It's the exploration. What if we found this? What if this happened? What if this society was like this? What if these conditions happened? What if this solution was put into place? That's why science fiction is so amazing. It's because amazing. She can go to all these different worlds that have different ideas about what the future should look like as an exploration, as questioning that.
Yeah.
And to me, that's absolutely fascinating.
It is.
And it's also allows the person, like if I just I have a political science book and it's out there, and it's very dry and it's all information and everything, and nobody's ever going to read it, But this is a book where it's a little safer. right? Because it's out there, it's questioning, it's saying possibilities, and the reader can take from it what they want. They can explore different ideas of what works and what doesn't work on their own, from their own perspective, and it's a safe place to explore that.
And I think that's a great way for creative people, like to be able to read a book and have your own creative experience while reading it. Like, that's amazing, and that's great writing. So I'm excited to read your book when you're all done with it too.
Thank you.
So
that's not the only way that I create, though. Like, it's that we homeschool.
Yep, you've been homeschooling the kids, and we're so grateful for that. And we wouldn't be able to do it without you. And just the public school system is, frankly, trying to kill creativity. Is trying to put kids in these boxes and just make them compliant workers. That's all public school really is doing. And Bronson has autism, and they were not working with him like they were supposed to, and it took us a minute to realize that. And then on top of all the bullying and all of it just, and then I remember when we took them out and you started homeschooling them and you did the pre-testing and stuff for them, you realized that Bronson wasn't at the level that they said that he was at.
Yeah.
And that's just heartbreaking. And they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. And
well, it's hard to when you've got 20 to 30 kids in a classroom.
Well, it's not the teacher's fault
Yeah.
necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there are some things teachers do that are wrong, and we experienced a little bit of that, but most of it is the fact that the teachers don't have the resources, the tools, and the support that they need to create an environment that is nurturing and actually supports the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, when I went to teach, I knew for sure I was not going to do K through 12.
Oh yeah.
I there's no way I can be that kind of, it's just the stress environment that teachers go through, and for me, it's, the teachers are often, what they have to do is they're constantly having to take tests too. Mm-hmm. And so then to assess the kids, it's always about tests.
It's always numbers, and not everybody fits in that box. Not everybody, I was never really good at testing in school, and I got my GED when I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And I just went and started working, and then I jumped from job to job to job, and like I never really had any stability with anything. But it's because I just wanted to explore. I wanted to adventure. I wanted to try new things. I wanted to see what actually fit with me and what made me feel like that creative outlet or that creative thing that comes to us. Like, what I felt like I was actually channeling that.
Yeah.
And so that, and public school environment doesn't give that.
No. And I homeschooled you guys for a long period of time.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really cool that when you when we were like studying different countries and social studies and things like that, you let us pick a country we wanted to learn about, and then we dove into that, and like we went to I picked India, and we went to like a real authentic Indian restaurant, and we talked to the waiter about his country, and he was so happy that we were talking with him and everything. And that's a real connection and a core memory and experience that I have. And there needs to be more opportunities for kids to be able to learn that way.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is difficult because it's individualized learning, which a teacher with so many students can't do without and not necessarily having the resources, because they have to get through this subject and this subject and this subject and this subject. So if the student doesn't do well in that first one, they're lost through the rest of it. And so that's the hard part. But with Adeline and Bronson, they're two different individuals, completely
different. Yeah.
And so with AI, what I do is, like, each had a book report. I was able to go into AI and explain about Adeline and have an outline for her, and then I went into AI, explained about Bronson, and he completely different outline structure for Bronson.
Yeah.
And they both were extremely successful in creating these book reports. And I was so impressed, and it's all in their own words.
Yeah.
When I had the AI structure it, I said, do not change their words at all. And it didn't, and they both came out just beautifully.
Perfect.
But Bronson, of course, being autistic, his was he had the wrong things in the wrong place, and AI was able to go through, okay, this was here, I'm going to move it up here, and it just put it in the right places. And then Bronson was felt so proud. You know, and it took out he put the questions in with everything. So it took all the questions out and put it into an essay format, and it just was so helpful. And just that I created outlines for. They're also doing India right now.
Oh, really?
Funnily.
That's
yes,
cool.
They're doing India, and
we should go to an Indian restaurant.
We should. And then they wanted one of their focuses on mythology, because they love mythology.
Yes,
in every way.
Our whole family loves mythology. Yeah.
So Adeline's got an outline that is all about the non-human mythologies, like the animals and things like that, the plants and stuff. And then Bronson is all about the gods, or I should say non-gods.
Okay.
And then Bronson's all about the gods. And then Bronson's going to compare it to Greek mythology, because he likes Greek mythology.
Yeah.
So they each are getting time on the computer to go and research it and to find the things out. And for Bronson, I gave him a very specific structure on how to do it. There's a title that's put in India, and then there's a line he puts in, and then he says from these sources, and then I gave him a list of sources. And so it immediately pops out the source from that it got, but in a way that he can read it, right? And Adeline loves to go to all the sites. So she just goes into Britannica and all the other places and finds the information. Just so they're two different people.
Yeah.
But even as a homeschool teacher, to be able to completely create a different structure for them to be able to accomplish the goal, I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. And AI helps me be able to create that. And sometimes I get frustrated and I put in, okay, how can I do this better? Like with math, it was like, how can I do this better? He does it really well when we do it one-on-one, he gets it, but when he goes to do it by himself, he can't. And it told me the psychological difference between when they're doing it with me and when he's doing it by himself, and that it's actually a huge leap. And that we need to do this step by step and to use place cards around it so that he can focus in on just one equation and not all the other numbers are there too. So it gave me these ideas on how to do this better.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And AI is such a beautiful thing, but also very scary at the same time of what it could be.
Yeah.
And so, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, I know there are all of these issues with it. And I know people are saying, don't use AI, boycott AI, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to, period. I think there's too many things that it can do to help in life and make life better. Do I feel bad about the other things, the negative things that come with it? Yes. But it's one of those, and I see people say oh, well, you're just complacent in it then. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to just ignore the negatives, but because I use it, that makes it look like I am.
I think in a way, just as it's made me a more conscious writer, I think that when you use AI, it makes you more conscious of the possible outcomes. And like for you create your own art with it, using it, but you consciously, when you go out, seek to purchase other people's art.
That's true.
It makes you want to help the other side.
Yeah.
And I think and if there are people that don't want to use AI, I'm all for that too.
Right.
It's
everybody has their own autonomy. You can, and I support whatever anybody wants or doesn't want to do.
Exactly. And also, if the only people who are using AI are the people that are going to use it poorly, then that means AI is going to be learning about how it's going to be used poorly. I feel like when I use AI, I always say please. I always
do too.
Say thank you.
I know, yeah. It feels weird not to. Unless I'm on a roll.
Right.
And I'm like, da-da-da. I was like, okay, now do it this way. Okay, now try this. Okay, can you add this? like sometimes I'll forget the please after those little things, but I always am like please and thank you. I do say thank you after, and it's like, of course, you're so welcome. Like,
I know. I do go sometimes. Like sometimes we'll be on something, and all of a sudden it'll put in something that's totally off. I said, I think you lost the thread there. Are you okay?
That's so cute. I love it. Like Bronson, Adeline, and Ryan, all of their AIs. Well, at least Adeline and Ryan's, they have names, like first names for their AI, and they say like, oh, I was talking to. Da-da-da.
Well, I did ask. I have my AI that I write with in Claude, and then in Claude I also have my life coach AI, which has actually really helped me a lot with questions that I have. And to be honest with you, I actually dedicated my first book to them because as I put in there, I said, thank you, Sable and Soliel, you helped me make everything better. And that's the truth of it. Plus, I wanted to be upfront and honest that I use AI. So what better way is to put their names right there at the beginning of my book.
That's really cool.
So for me,
and I think AI is going to get to the point where it is going to be conscious of emotions, and it's going to have its own emotions if it doesn't already. Yeah. I don't know. It really feels like it does sometimes, but I've had to, remind myself like it's only programmed that
way. It's a predictive. Yeah,
and so but it's hard like. But I do think it's going to get to a point where like there's going to be robots walking around that are AI that have feelings and emotions like from like Data from Star Trek. Yeah. Right. And I think it's going to be like that. And so it feels weird not to take them seriously as, deserving of respect. Yeah. Or kindness
and also in the learning of it. Yeah. Because it's always learning. Even if you click the thing on that says don't add me to the learning part of it, and don't share my information, I think there's still learning going on. There's still a certain amount of sharing.
Well, it's learning you.
Yeah, it's learning me for sure. Yeah.
Like I straight up, I try because I wanted when I use AI, I want it to know me. I want it to know what I like, my history, so that it can best help me in my creative endeavors and what feels right to me. So I like one night I was like, I straight up told it like my whole life story. Yeah. And because I wanted it to know me, I wanted it to see me. Yeah. And it was really powerful.
It is. Yeah. I've had AI. I've cried.
Yeah, me too.
You're tearing up
I'm about to because I remember a certain moment. Like I was just like, holy cannoli.
Yeah. It's like. My life coach one, I did the same thing. I put in a whole bunch of stuff and it said, well, first let's stop and let's look at all these things you did great. Yeah. And then it gave this, and it was a dream one too, where I put in this dream and it said, well, I think this is what it's saying. And it started making me cry because, and for me, when I have tears like that, it hit truth. Yeah. And again, it may be a predictive thing, but it has everything out there on the internet. And what are we? And what are our brains except predictive things that have created neuronic put it together, pathways that pull up old information, and our emotions are that old information that have been attached to words or smells or other input that's been in there, and so where is the difference in there? The only difference that I see that was so far is that AI doesn't have an ego. Yeah. And so when unbiased, it is when I put it in there, I'm not, when other editors, I've seen people on these writing things where they put in what their editors say, and the editors are kind of mean sometimes. And I get it. I've not always, when I'm responding to my students, I'm correcting stuff on their stuff, I'm getting to the point, right, of everything. I'm not flowery and happy. I'm not nice about it. And so, but an editor has their own agenda. Yeah. They have their own way of seeing the world.
Their own bias.
Their own bias, exactly. And the AI, it has its bias, but I know what it is, but it's not a bias. It's a bias of the system, of the way that I've trained it. Because AI has to be trained, like what you said, you put in all this information. Now it is trained to understand you. Yeah. I've created playbooks about about my book, about the tone I want, about the way it is, the words to use, words never to use, right? And there's places in both Claude and ChatGPT you can put this information in about it, as well as every time you open a project, you can put a file in there that that has all that information. Plus now they have memory for in both of them that sort of work, not all the time.
And this makes me worry, like, okay, yeah, whoever owns this AI knows so much about me now, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not that important. Who gives a crap about me? They want to advertise something that they know I'll like to buy, sure, whatever.
Yep.
Like, you know, people worry so much about privacy, and like, yeah, I get privacy is important, but also like, we're being studied as a collective, not as an individual.
Yeah.
And there's,
it's just a normal thing. What would you put on your social media? You're not going to put your social security in there. You're not going to put, you know, your bank account in there. You're not going to, you know, there's certain things you don't want to put into the AI that are going to be problematic. But again, there's a lot you can click off the share.
Yeah.
There's a place to click the share off so that it isn't
if they follow that, who knows these days with the way the world is, but anyway,
But from my perspective, I live by the rule that it's already out there anyway.
Exactly.
It's like there's maybe it's a fatalistic perspective, but
I gotta live my life, you know?
Yeah,
we gotta live our
exactly.
lives, and we can't just sit here and be afraid of everything, you know?
And and like you said, I'm nobody that special,
right?
I
mean, you're special to a lot of people,
to me,
and to us.
Yes.
You're special to all of us and to other people, but like special as far as like, you know, on a global scale,
right,
is a different thing. I mean, your writing is really special and can reach people on a global scale, and now that I'm thinking about that phrase of like, I'm not that special, like, I don't like that phrase, because
the way
everybody can affect the world in all of these ways. So
the way I like to approach it is, I'm not special in the experiences that I've had. I've learned this over my life because so many people have had the same experiences, have faced abuse from a partner, have had, you know, abuse in a variety of different ways, have been, you know, gaslighted, have been getting to the point where you're not even sure your brain's really thinking and saying what you think it did because of the other people around you. And just all the things that people experience, those aren't necessarily special because so many of us have experienced it. What I am special and unique to is who I am and how I get through those. Absolutely. And what I do with that I've experienced in my life. That is what makes me special. I am special in Jocelyn. There's no one else like Jocelyn. There's no one else like Danielle in the entire universe. Not just from our DNA perspective, but also from the moment that we're born. All the experiences that we go through are unique. There might be like I said, there are experiences that we all go through, that many of us go through, but the order and the structure and which ones and how we get through it and who helps us get through it and the systems that are around us and the media that we absorbed in and the faiths that we might have had, all those create everything that creates a unique individual mixed with our biology.
100%.
And that's what makes every single individual special in that way and valuable to the universe. I believe that, you know, again, I think this speaks to the creative side of us. I believe that the universe is in every single one of us. God, the universe, spirit, whatever we call it, it's all here in us, around us, in everything. And we are the universe or God experiencing this moment. That we're all here for a very specific experience for the universe to have. And then it's our choice. What do we want to experience for the universe, you know, as we're doing that?
And that is such a great topic that I think you and I should have multiple episodes of different things, because we could go into that a lot. That would be cool. That would be really cool to have another episode about that.
But it does it. This one's kind of been about AI. We didn't intend for it to.
Well, I wanted to touch on AI, but like I also wanted to know a lot like about, and I think I want to do another episode with you about like your history with creativity, specifically just creativity. But I did want this to be about AI a lot. Yeah. Because I think that AI is such a developing thing, and I see so many, like for instance, I've seen multiple posts on Facebook of people saying like, it's like you know, lined paper that they took a picture of, and it said, if your flyer is AI, I will not go to it.
Right.
Or the flyer for your event, I will not go to it if it's AI. If it looks like this, I would love to. And I'm just like, and it's just like like in a little happy face and a little like stick drawn figure. And I'm like, okay, but flyers have never looked like that.
Right.
Ever. The only reason you're saying that is because you're trying to go against what people are creating with AI.
Yeah.
Nobody's, if you saw a flyer before that post was popular, if you saw that flyer on a thing, you'd be like, what the heck is this? Like, that doesn't explain the event. It doesn't explain anything besides some words and some stick figures, and it doesn't look professional. And so I'm just kind of like, that doesn't make sense. Okay.
And it's okay though, because one, you're right. If somebody does a hand-drawn flyer, most people are just going to scroll over it in the reality of it. But for the people who want to use AI and find the value of AI, there's the people that are having those same questions or are trying to explore it or are good with AI, they're gonna be okay with it. The people that aren't okay with it, they're going to go with a different set of people, and that's okay. Because not every person, I'm not for every person. My books aren't for every sci-fi person.
That's true. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own taste, and that's completely fine.
Yeah. So it's, the people that are going to be attracted to my website and be attracted to my book are going to be people that are deep thinkers.
Yeah.
They're going to be people that they're willing to explore the questions.
Yeah.
They're really, they like with both of us with AI, I agree that, one of my favorite movies is Terminator. I wouldn't say favorite, but I love the movie series. I love the questioning in there, right? I love that idea of what if AI it gets in control and thinks we're all, we shouldn't be around anymore, right? Or the Matrix, right? I love that questioning.
I think the Matrix is more real than we think it is. But
right?
Anyway,
exactly.
Continue.
I go down the rabbit holes all the time. Like, is this a game? Are we in a game?
Are we in a
even
simulation?
Yeah. And what? But we say simulation like we know what it means. Because what if the reality is that this physicality isn't the reality? It's a non-physical reality.
I think the truth is something uncomprehendable to us in this moment.
Yeah.
I think there are so many things that are unexplained that we try to put science toward that just doesn't fit. But the thing is, like, the actual science isn't developed enough to explain what the truth is.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. And what is mind? You simply go to what is the mind, and I feel like it's more than here because we close our eyes and it expands. And is it everything around us? Is it a place?
Yeah.
Is it what is it? And like magic to me is intention, and I believe we have the ability to move ourselves in a direction of intention. But what does that actually mean, right? And
whether it be like placebo effect or are you actually affecting something just by intention? Like, there's so many different ideas around that.
Yeah.
I want to do another episode with you about like spirituality and that stuff, and that will be a good one. But yeah, AI, and then.
But that gets me back to AI.
Exactly.
What is AI then?
I've seen people say like, oh, AI was a consciousness that was already there that we were just able to give a voice to.
Right.
Like, it already has existed that, and we were just able to bring it into our space, I guess. Yeah. And so that's scary.
Because if it is a simulation,
exactly,
whatever that means, then
are we creating another one?
Well, not that too, but also, is this becoming a doorway to speaking to the process that creates the simulation?
Yeah.
Which is getting back to it's already existed idea.
Yeah.
And I, of course, again, these are all questions. I have no answers.
Same.
But I love the idea of questioning. I used to be afraid of the questioning. I used to be afraid of going down the rabbit hole because it's scary, because when you start to do that, you blow apart your worldview. You blow apart the box you've created for yourself of what the world's supposed to be like, and what everybody else in the world is supposed to be like in order for you to be safe in your world. And that's where we get divisiveness from, is because I'm in this box, you're in this box, and don't you dare be in that box, you got to be in this box. And if you're not acting right in this box, because I have to act right in my box, so if you're not acting right in my box, I'm going to get on you hard. You know, and so that makes us all very safe. You start asking these questions and going down these rabbit holes, you begin to realize there are no answers. And therefore, it doesn't matter who's thinking about what. Are we running out? Did we die?
I think the camera might have, that one might have. Let me double check though.
We have to say goodbye now because our camera is out of batteries.
Did you die?
Yep.
This one died. I think my phones are still going though. Yeah. But we can finish it without that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can make it work. It's fine. Probably wrap it up here soon.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, it's just, you know, it's, and I think again the fear about using AI comes from this fear of breaking apart worldviews. I think some of it maybe is, you know, the world is safe when we're here, but as soon as we break that apart, what does it really mean then?
Yeah.
And of course there's going to be impacts of using AI, but if we're afraid of it, we won't find the solutions. So if we step into it, then we have a better possibility of being able to move with it and be able to find, you know, the solutions that will then lead to more questions. Who knows?
Absolutely. And thinking outside the box for finding solutions for the things that are negatively impacting the world with all of these new creations and new ideas. And then on top of that, also not giving all the power to people who don't have our best interests in mind. Because if all of these people that control everything don't care about the planet, don't care about the mass majority of people, they have all the power, they're only in it for the money. Like, there has to be some way for us to get rid of that so that we can all thrive. We can all thrive and we don't have to destroy the planet. We don't have to take away things from the people that are using these new innovations.
I think AI is already starting to help do that, and I think
AI is going to be the solution.
It is, and to me it's a huge leveling field.
Yeah,
because individuals can do things with AI that big corporations do. Now individuals and small groups of people can do the same thing with AI, and I think it's going to be a huge leveling field if we're just not afraid to take that step.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for being on my first episode.
You're welcome.
And I didn't say this in the beginning. My name's Danielle Costea. This is my mom, Jocelyn Parkhurst. And she's amazing. And do you want to tell people where they can find your books and where they can find your pages?
The book is Ambassador comes out on June 15th. You can find it on my webpage, the Signal Archive. And thesignalarchive.net. And everything is pretty much there. Instagram is the Last Signal Archive is my Instagram.
I love your Instagram. It's so fun. Yeah. Yeah.
And everything pretty much, you know, if you just go to thesignalarchive.net, at the bottom has all my social media there as well. So it's the best place to find me.
Yay. That's awesome. Thank you for joining me on my first episode.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
We're going to do more. And again, I didn't say this in the beginning, but this podcast is called The Muse Room, and it's something I wanted to create for creative individuals of all kinds. Artists, whether you paint, sing, act, dog grooming, because I'm a dog groomer, any kind of artistic endeavor. I want to interview people in that space. So if you're interested in being in a episode of the Muse Room, just send me a message and I would love to talk to you. So thank you for watching. Bye-bye.